Joining me now is Republican Congressman from California, Tom McClintock. He is also a member of the House Judiciary Committee and House Budget Committee. Congressman, let me start, obviously, with this piece in the Middle East. You know, NewsNation actually had exclusive on-the-ground access inside Gaza this week. I want you to hear from a refugee calling for the proper return of displaced Palestinians on the Gaza Strip. Take a listen.
We ask the negotiators to complete the negotiations in full and to arrange for everyone to return across the entire Gaza Strip, God willing. We are heading home. Very happy and very grateful to you.
Yeah, when you look at Gaza City right now, I think we have some live images that most of it is reduced to rubble. What are your thoughts in terms of this peace agreement, where it stands, and then the next phase, what it looks like in order for us to see lasting peace?
Well, I think the president and his team deserve enormous credit for brokering this ceasefire, including his ultimatum to Hamas that finally drove them to the agreement. If it can be maintained, I hope it will isolate and marginalize Hamas and finally begin to establish freedom and the prosperity that freedom produces. In this respect, I think the agreement is going to be reminiscent of the American occupation of Japan and Germany. We forget that took a decade. As the rubble of war was cleared away, the old regimes were completely rooted out, and an entirely new political order was established. Hopefully that'll be the outcome of this ceasefire. But I think President Trump's absolutely correct. Gaza should be the next Riviera. It stretches along the Mediterranean coast. It has one of the most equitable climates in the world. All it has lacked is freedom. And hopefully that's what this agreement will provide. The critical question is whether we can maintain our focus on a genuine political transformation on Gaza that's going to take many years, and maintain the corrective institutions in place until the last vestige of Hamas has been purged.
Yeah, I think obviously many Americans here are hoping that we see, lasting peace in the Middle East, and certainly people there. This is a delicate balance and one that the U.S. has to stay on top of, to your point there.
Right.
Congressman, I want to point your attention, though, back here at home to Washington, because a lot of people right now are most immediately being impacted by this federal shutdown. You've got mass firings now happening of federal workers as the government shutdown now inches closer to week 3, right? We're learning in a court filing 4,100 federal employees could be fired or have been fired by the Trump administration. 750,000 are still on this forced leave, this furlough. What is it going to take for the government to reopen?
Well, this is not a complicated situation, and there's no excuse for it. The House passed a simple bill to keep the government open until November 21st. At the spending levels that the Democrats approved earlier this year. And that was to buy time to finish the negotiations for the full fiscal year. The problem is it needs 60 votes in the Senate, and Senate Democrats are blocking it over their demand for $1.5 trillion in new spending. That's about $12,000 taken from the earnings of an average household. And of course, the problem is we don't have $1.5 trillion. We're $38 trillion in debt.
Congressman, respectfully, that's the same talking point we heard on day 1 of this shutdown. It's been, 10, 11 days? We're going into, week 3 of this.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed.
But progress has to happen. How do we get to progress is really the question. I get the point. I get, Republicans are frustrated with Democrats. Democrats will tell me they're frustrated with Republicans. How do we get progress? Because that's what the American people want right now, especially when this impact is lingering. Not only is it losing jobs, but there's a potential impact to the economy. I was doing a story yesterday. Moody's Analytics shows that 20 states right now are in a recession. I think we have a graphic of this. I'd like you to take a look at this. They're in a recession or on the precipice of one. And Oxford Economics has warned that every single week we see this shutdown continue. You're looking at U.S. GDP shrinking by about 0.2%, only pushing us further into a potential recession nationally. What is your level of concern about that?
Well, and that's all for lack of 6 Senate Democrats in the Senate who are willing to cross party lines and approve a clean spending bill that has no Republican priorities in it and simply continues current levels of spending until November 21st. It's not clear to me what more the House can do until the Senate acts. Remember, we passed a bill to keep the government open back on September 19th. And remember your schoolhouse rock. The House sends an appropriation to the Senate. We did that.
Yes.
Then the Senate either changes the bill and sends it back to us, or it passes the bill on to the president. Schumer refuses to do either. So explain to me what the House can do at this point that it hasn't already done.
I get it, right? We need 6 more Democrats to cross over. Is there no room for Republicans to budge here?
Well, again, we have got nothing to negotiate with because we put no Republican priorities into that bill. It simply continues spending at current levels to buy the time to have those negotiations.
Yeah. The American people are hoping, whether it's Democrats cave or Republicans kind of meet in the middle somewhere, that, this doesn't go beyond week 3, because come Tuesday, that's what we're looking at, week 3 of this government shutdown. And 4,100 jobs lost here, according to the Trump administration, more to come. We'll have to see how this plays out, but you got a lot of work ahead of you, Congressman, Republican Congressman Tom McClintock. Thank you for joining us.